Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome, finally, to the discussion of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Yes. It has been a long time coming, and we are finally discussing probably one of my new favorite books of all time now. Mm-hmm. Just so incredible. Mm-hmm. And of course, I am joined here with the beautiful, wonderful, amazing Emma.
Ow. Maybe let's just start with, new favorite book. Absolutely.
All around, incredibly crafted, incredibly written.
This just made me so happy. I had the time of my life reading it. The first one was a reread for me, but I was just like, why did I not have this feeling before? I just feel like we came to it at the exact right time. Mm-hmm. And I just had, the time of my life. I cried reading them all, I think. Aww. I just, seriously, I don't know if it's my favorite we've read so far for the book club, but
it's up there for sure.
It probably is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite out of the three?
Oh, The Fellowship.
Me too!
Yeah.
Me too! I loved the songs, I loved the characters, I loved them just journeying through Middle-earth and, learning about Middle-earth as we were, journeying with them. Yeah. I loved the hobbits.
Travel memoir.
It was just so beautiful and wonderful, and I just wanted to be in that world. Every time I put the book down, I couldn't wait to pick it back up.
Yeah.
I truly can't express how much I loved the poems and the songs enough. I feel like they enhanced the story so much. It was another element added onto traditional storytelling. And you could see how much he loved this world and these characters and how much thought and energy he put into everything.
Fellowship was my favorite. Return of the King was my least favorite, but not because I felt like it was a slog or anything. Actually, I felt like the battle scenes and the different descriptions of I don't know, the little skirmishes or combats we would have in the Two Towers and Return of the King, those were my least favorite sections, and those were the parts that I found a slog to get through, was Tolkien's battle writing. Mm-hmm. So, I much prefer them, not necessarily just walking along, but I just love the conversations. The conversations were my favorite part of the whole book. That's what I'm there for. I love that Lord of the Rings is not acclimatized for the modern fantasy reader. I don't want that. I want those slow.
Absolutely.
I just want the description.
Yes.
And the conversations. And I'm we don't need to have 10 pages of battle. I don't care.
I agree. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You've obviously have seen the movies, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I watched the movies as well after reading the books, and something that I really missed is one of my favorite characters or side characters is Tom Bombadil. And Goldberry. I loved them. I thought that they were so, enchanting and whimsical, and I just wanted to learn more about them. And when I learned that they weren't in the movies, I was like, no, I want to experience more of them. What were some of your favorite things about Fellowship? For me, I loved the Shire, and then I loved also, leaving the Shire and discovering new things and meeting new people, and
I just love the atmosphere, the absolute atmosphere, and I feel like the literal physical journey in Fellowship was just the most well described and the most well taken care of in the narrative. You could just see everything and you're there, and it just feels so cozy going through the woods or meeting Tom Bombadil and stuff, and the rest of the hobbits still kind of think it's this lighthearted jaunt. They don't really know what they're getting themselves into, but Frodo is the only one who kind of knows the severity of their quest, and he's always on the lookout for darker things. And I don't know, I just really like that. It felt very fairy tale.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the whole thing, even just all of the Fellowship, I think was done. It was just perfect. It was a perfect novel. I love how slow it was. I love the songs. Getting to the Council of Elrond and getting to Rivendell. Favorite chapters as well. Just everything was
the pages just felt like they were sparkling. It was just pure magic. You could really just feel everything.
Yeah, and I read it so slow. I've never read a book this slow.
Yeah.
Never read a book this slow. I would go back and reread a page because I'm just we do have a lot of questions from you guys and thoughts from you guys. There were so many, so if we don't get to yours, I'm so sorry. But just on that, I don't know, I'm gonna ask you
Ooh, I'm
suggestions that you
excited.
guys sent in. Okay, so this one might be hard, but your favorite character.
Oof, oof.
Yeah.
I have to say Sam.
Okay.
Like, his character development from being, and obviously, I'm sorry guys, this is gonna have spoilers, just so we can really fully delve into the story, but his character development from going from, like, this shy gardener who's, like, eavesdropping on Frodo and Gandalf into, I wouldn't say he's the true ring bearer, but he really is, like, the person who helped Frodo, like, achieve the ultimate goal that they set out to do. And yeah, the fact that he went from, like, a very humble gardener to being this very, like, courageous, I don't know, I wouldn't say warrior, but I guess, like,
He kind of was, though.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is your favorite?
Man, that's so hard.
It really is.
The response that just wants to come out of my mouth is Gandalf.
Oh my god.
I just found myself really... Every time he was on the page, I was having the time of my life. And I just really looked forward to him being there, which I was not expecting. Because, like, yeah, you love Gandalf. Like, everyone loves Gandalf. But I wasn't expecting him to be like, oh my god, you are the best. I think you have the best lines. The way that you speak is so... It's just beautiful. Like, I feel like Tolkien gave him the best speeches, the most beautiful lines. And he's so sassy.
I know.
So sassy. I just really liked Gandalf, yeah. I don't know. I think, like, obviously my answer would differ between film and book, but in the books, Gandalf, 100%. And Frodo, probably, I don't know, just Gandalf and Frodo. Yeah. Really love
Talk
Frodo.
about what you like about Frodo, because I do feel like Frodo tends to get, like, the brunt of, I wouldn't say criticism, but because he has to carry the burden, and obviously, like, it affects his personality, he sometimes, like, does things that people don't agree with. Or tell me what you liked about Frodo's character.
Yeah, like, yeah, someone literally kind of said what you just said. They said, why do you think Frodo gets less love and is often misunderstood by readers? I just love him, I think, because he is such a different kind of hero than the one probably a lot of people were expecting at the time from a fantasy novel, and, like, would expect today from a fantasy novel. I love that he's so quiet. I love that the burden is pretty much all something you can't see at all. Like, you can't really see how it's affecting him, and so I think that's why he gets a lot of... I don't know, I wasn't really aware that Frodo got a lot of, like... not as much love, but, like, obviously everyone adores Sam because he's so transparent, and, like, you can see everything that he's doing, whereas Frodo is a lot more secretive, and, like, he's dealing with stuff in private, and, like, he doesn't want to even, like, let it out a little bit because he doesn't want it to affect the people that he loves, so he just takes it all upon himself. I just think he's a very complicated character, but, like, he handles it all with so much, like, grace and just like quiet
Strength.
Yeah, you know, the quiet fortitude.
Can we talk about the quote that you and I know we both love it so much, where they're talking about their story being an actual story that a father and son are reading to each other, and they're like, tell me more about Frodo, tell me more about Sam. Like, that's one of my favorite scenes ever.
Yeah. And there's so many references like that made throughout the book where they're like, oh, we're in a story, or we're in a song, or we're gonna be stories, and it's just so beautiful. And the two of them, just like the absolute ideal of everything.
Truly.
Just, I've never seen a more beautiful relationship, honestly, in literature, I don't think.
Do you want to move on to book 2 now?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I don't have too much to say about book 2. This is where the Fellowship kind of breaks off a bit more, and we're following the characters a bit more separately.
Okay, something I don't love that's just, like, more about the structure of Lord of the Rings in general is that I think because, I don't know, of the way that it's split, because once the Fellowship splits, we only have, like, the trio of, like, Legolas, Aragorn, Gimli, and then you have to wait however many hundreds of pages before you get back to Frodo and Sam.
I feel like kind of what they do in the movie is they make it a bit more even, where we'll get one viewpoint and then the next viewpoint, or, like, the characters are a bit more, like, segmented evenly rather than like a really big chunk with these characters and then waiting a really long time to be back with the other characters, especially because the events are happening at the same time.
Exactly.
And so you know that like what's happening over here is happening at the same time that something else is happening while these characters are doing something else.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
have to do
saying?
some like time jumps in your mind.
Exactly,
once you
exactly.
Get to the second perspective.
So that was the only thing that I also felt like it made certain like battle scenes feel more like a slog, because they just like went on for a lot longer than I was expecting. I thought that the point of views would switch more quickly and more evenly.
Not like a huge complaint, but I just wish I think it would have been a little bit more effective if it was split perspective.
I agree.
I
completely agree.
Yeah. Things I loved about Two Towers, I love the Ent chapters. And I love the Treebeard chapters. And
me too! Treebeard is so awesome!
Yes. And I was really worried because in the film, obviously you watch the Two Towers now.
Right.
Okay, here's the thing. In the book, I wish it would have been those back-to-back Frodo, Sam, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli. And in the film when it does that,
yeah,
I think it's just because of the nature of like translating what happens to Frodo and Sam and even the other two hobbits onto screen, but I'm like fast forward. I just want to see the trio, you know? But in the book I was so happy to find that like it wasn't like that, and I loved the sections with Merry Pippin and Treebeard, whereas in the film I'm like falling asleep. Honestly. The execution in the book is just top tier, and like I love how you really get into so much more of Treebeard's backstory and like the Ents in general and the forest. And like I was kind of worried about, once we left the Shire and Rivendell, how like the themes of honestly environmentalism and like taking care of nature, I was like, how is this gonna, like, where is he gonna slot it in? How are we gonna keep talking about it? But then the Ents came up and like their connection to the land and everything, and I was like, oh my goodness. It's like, it felt like Tom Bombadil all over again, the section with Treebeard.
Yes.
So love that.
Me too. I love how every single character, whether they're minor or major, has a full, deep history. And I don't think that it's overdone, where it's like we're reading like pages and pages and pages of history that is like honestly boring. Like it was so saturated in true feeling, and I felt so deeply for everyone's history and what everyone went through, and I loved it so much.
Yeah. And the language too, the way he like ties it in with the Entish to the... Oh, it's just... Wow. I was really, really impressed. And then, honestly, I love the parts in Rohan. I love those.
Ooh, yeah.
Really great. Obviously, Gandalf comes back.
Oh my god, that... I love how he... I feel like it's so Gandalf how he like makes his reappearance. It's just like so like grand and him, and he's like, oh, look at me now. I glow up.
I'm back.
Gotta glow up.
I sparkle now.
Went to the hairdresser, got a straightener. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we have one in general, because I guess this is where the storylines really split off. Someone wants to know, like, what is your favorite storyline?
There are too many to pick just one.
I know.
I love Tom Bombadil. I love the Ents. I love the elves. I mean, like, the elves I just found so fascinating and beautiful and angelic. I truly don't think I can pick just one, because I feel like there first of all, there are so many storylines, like so many other storylines, and they're all amazing. They're all, and like, oh my gosh, Gollum, like Sméagol becoming Gollum is also like an iconic story, and it all ties into the ring. So it's, I don't know, I don't think I can pick just one.
I don't think I could either. Do you think Sméagol could have been redeemed given more time and care?
I don't know, because he was starting to a bit more when Frodo was being kinder to him.
Yes, he was.
What Tolkien's message was, is like, because he held on to this ring and it corrupted him, the power of the ring, the power of Sauron's evil, can you come back from that? What do you think?
I don't know. I just love Gollum. Another favorite character, for sure. I just think he's like, I don't know, just the way he was described as like this sad little mongrel. It just kills my heart. I don't know. It depends like how far you want to push the redemption definition, but I think, I think we saw him like really make so much progress in such a little time after how many years he's been in his cave? Like
That's
500 years or something. And the scene where Frodo has to like kind of trick him a little bit, and like that's immediately when like he's like, oh my gosh, no, like these people are actually not nice to me. It was just like break. That's probably one of my most upsetty spaghetti moments in the book is when that happened. So like, yeah, I think honestly, given time and care, Smeagol can. I believe in Smeagol.
Transitioning from book 2 to book 3, how did you feel?
Return of the King for me was definitely the low point of the series. I think because it is the most focused on not the journey anymore. Like, we're no longer walking. And I really like books where we're walking.
Yeah, same.
I really like walking. And I think a lot, like, Frodo is taken away. Sam's out here becoming an elvish warrior. And then everyone is preparing for the big battle. I have to be honest, I really didn't like the scenes in Gondor. I don't like being in Gondor. I don't like Gondor as a whole. Like, I like its history, and I like the scenes with Denethor, honestly, when he and Gandalf are talking, and I love Faramir.
Yes.
I love Faramir.
And Éowyn.
I love Faramir. And Éowyn, exactly. So, like, I enjoyed those scenes, but as a whole, and Gondor is such a big focus of Return of the King, because, like, the king is returning. He's coming back, you know, which I kind of want to talk about, too, but I just... something about it, it lost a little bit of something for me.
Okay. I agree. I think book 2 and 3 for me are like on even ground. I don't know if I liked one more than the other. I didn't mind the scenes in Gondor. I thought that they were really interesting. I do feel like at certain points, though, when I was there for a longer period of time, I was so invested in what was happening with Sam and Frodo that I just wanted to like be back with them. So I was like excited for their chapters to come back.
Like, I love it so much, and I seriously have, like, zero to criticize about it, but if we're really trying to get into it and really trying to nitpick something to talk about it, I just... First of all, the scenes where we are from kind of the narrative perspectives of Pippin and Merry are not my favorite. I love film Pippin and Merry so much more than book Pippin and Merry.
Okay.
I think when you bring them to the forefront... Pippin was just getting on my nerves, which I was not expecting at all, because I love Pippin in the films, and like having grown up with the films, I'm like, would die for these hobbits, but just I don't know, something about it just did not work for me. And then, like you said, the huge build up, we have like Helm's Deep, and then we have the Pelennor Fields, and then we have all this stuff going on in Gondor, and then on the side we have like Frodo and Sam racing to Mount Doom, and like the scenes where finally Gandalf is like, oh my god, Frodo's alive, and like we have to pull the whole host of Mordor out of Mordor.
I know.
So that they can kind of backdoor it or whatever. I think it ties into the fact that I am not totally enamored by the good versus evil dichotomy that is presented in The Lord of the Rings. It's not really my vision. It's more of like an absolutism kind of totality, good versus evil, which is very just like archetypal. You're very good or you're evil. And like there are characters that represent both, and like you have morally gray people and whatever, but I think in terms of Sauron, in terms of this enemy that we've been like looking towards the whole series, and like he's so big and bad and so evil, I just want to see him. I just want to see him. I just want to see him one time. I want to know what he says. I want to know what he thinks. And I was really disappointed that we really get none. Everything is just kind of peripheral around Sauron.
Yeah. I think because we see his power through the things that he's controlling.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we see Saruman, we see the orcs, we see Gollum, the spider. So I think it's ring, the ring. Like, we get it in different ways.
Which I do like. I do like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I found really interesting too, like in the movies, actually watching those scenes of like evil take place, and how Peter Jackson kind of like took what was in the books and kind of like put his own spin on it. I did find it really interesting that they kept trying to hide from the eye, and I feel like it's a very interesting symbol. I don't know, I feel like it could have affected dystopian novels in the future, because you have this like big brother eye watching.
Yeah, love that, yeah. I still like loved it, give it 5 stars, don't get me wrong. It's just like, if I could have tweaked something in the literal tiniest amount, I would have just wanted a little bit more into Sauron, because I think if you're just coming to The Lord of the Rings like we are, and we've read The Hobbit, but this is all we've read, you and I are gonna be like, okay, like Sauron is this dark force, and you don't get his backstory. It's not given to you in Lord of the Rings, it's given to you elsewhere in Tolkien's writing, so it's a bit less informational, I guess. You know, you're not really getting who he is, where he came from, kind of thing. Okay, I want to know your thoughts about the end, because when it all goes down, no, okay, not the end of the book yet.
Oh,
but
okay,
yeah,
okay.
We'll get there. Almost the end. But near the end of the book, when we have Frodo and Sam, and like we're finally going to Mount Doom, I feel like that's the point when it just felt like the book switched so hard to focus on Sam, and like we get pretty much all of it through Sam's eyes, and then the rest of the book as well feels like through Sam's eyes, and like the final moments I feel like are Sam's.
Frodo wouldn't have been able to do it without Sam. And I do think it's very interesting because we kind of lose Frodo the closer we get to Mount Doom. It's like in the point of view and also like actually in the story.
I know.
And it is so devastating. And then obviously towards the end of the book we lose Frodo more and more and more. And then we get that through Sam.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful transition. I think it's handled really well. And it kind of shows you the toll that it took on Frodo.
I know, I love that I don't love that he slowly peters out and like fades out, but I think the complaints, they're not even complaints, but just the thoughts that I have that I want more from Lord of the Rings, it's me as the most selfish reader version of myself, because I'm like, I want in Frodo's head, I want to know what he's thinking now that we're at the end of it all. And then the rest of it, I was just like, oh, I just want Frodo to like speak a little bit more, but like he can't. Emma, you can't ask that of him. He can't speak anymore. He's exhausted. He's done.
They aren't even thinking about, or like they are, but they aren't giving much thought to what will happen after, or like if they'll make it up the mountain. They just need to make it up the mountain.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's that utter desperation to just achieve what you have set out this entire huge journey to do. While everyone else is fighting for different things, and it's just this like ultimate ending.
The other question that we have near the end of Return of the King is about obviously like Aragorn, because we haven't talked about Aragorn at all.
Yeah, or I also want to talk about Legolas, because and Gimli too. Like I love Legolas and Gimli. I mean, Aragorn is just, I think, such a great character. Obviously something that is different from the book and the movie is I read that Peter Jackson wanted to make Aragorn in the movie a bit more relatable, so they made him more cautious about becoming king, and he isn't so like ready, but in the book he's ready from the very beginning to be king again. Or not again, but to be king. Even him and Arwen, I want your perspective, because I felt like I didn't really feel the connection that you do when you watch the movie.
Well, it's because they like don't have any scenes together.
Yeah. So then when I was reading it, I was like waiting for those moments.
It's in the appendices. I don't know. I didn't get through the whole
I didn't read them
like,
yet. I didn't read them.
Yeah, their whole backstory is at the back of Return of the King.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did find the scenes between Faramir and Éowyn really interesting. I thought that her character was so beautiful because it's this woman who wants to not just be a woman.
She's just stuck in her room.
Yeah. She wants to be more than what she was born to be. And I think that's really admirable. I love in the movie, one of the Dark Black Riders, right? Says that like no man can defeat me, or no man can kill me, and she's like, I am no man. I'm like, that is the most badass line. Like, oh my god, so good. So good. But Legolas and Gimli, I love their friendship development. Like, I love how they started out disliking each other because of, being an elf and being a dwarf.
Yeah.
and then how they end up being like, oh, like come to my lands and I'll go to your land, and like, and then the parts where they're in battle and they're like counting how many people they have like slaughtered, I think it's just I think it added humor to a very like obviously devastating circumstance, devastating scene.
They're fantastic. With the whole Aragorn thing, just I don't know, I think like you said in the films, I'm like, wow. Wow, this is a great character. And I think like in the books as well, Aragorn is fantastic and he is a very compelling story, and I love how he's just been a ranger out in the woods, getting to know all the herbs and the animals and stuff. But like you said, I think his journey in the books doesn't feel as rewarding, and I definitely do love the more humble, like cautious, I like, you know, I don't know if this is for me, whereas in the book it feels more of like a conflict between, no, like I am the king, but like I just need to get there, you know, I need to get there and tell everyone that I'm the king. I just really love film Aragorn a lot more, a lot more, but I do love that when it's all over and like the ring has been destroyed, I love that we have so much more of the book to go, and like we do see him being king, and like we get to see him and Faramir interact, which I loved. We get to see him like heal everyone with the herbs, and like how they smell different to each sick person was beautiful. And then with the Éowyn and Faramir storyline, love it. I'm just glad that we got more scenes with them in the book, and got to explore their characters a little bit more, because they're so similar. And I love that they've been kind of produced by two different kingdoms, with like Theoden, who's very or after he, you know, is awakened from his curse, becomes so like noble and is like, I'm gonna go do the right thing no matter what, versus Denethor, who is all, it's over, like we're done, we're gonna light him up, you know, we're over. And I love that, just like Faramir as the second son is just breaks my heart.
I know.
Breaks my heart.
Okay, can we talk about the ending when we return to the Shire?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay, I thought it was so genius, because we start in the Shire, we end in the Shire, and obviously it's so devastating to see the Shire get ultimately destroyed and taken over, and the fact that the hobbits left kind of being these naive halflings, and then they return to the Shire and they're like, oh, like this is nothing compared to what we have just gone through, and they're so
confident
confident and take charge. And I just feel like that whole full circle moment was so satisfying to experience as a reader, and to see them really come into their own and just take back their home.
I have to explain this well, because initially I hated it, but it's again because like because it's just, I'm like, Frodo, you went through so much, you are so changed, and I wanted you to come home, and I know that the Shire is not going to be the same Shire for you, because he says like, I'm changed and the Shire isn't, but I wanted not a single blade of grass to be touched in the Shire. Like I wanted none of that, and for them to get there, and like trees are uprooted that have stood for hundreds of years, and their houses are destroyed, and Bagshot, his potatoes are dug up. I was like, it was like bullets to the heart, and I think that just speaks to Tolkien's world and his craft, and how much you have grown to care for it all. But I think it is ultimately necessary, because nothing remains untouched by greed and destruction. And I love in the Shire too, it's a bit more like, first of all, it's like physically, practically lower stakes, but for me it felt like the highest in the whole book. I was like, I don't care if Sauron devours Gondor, whatever, if like Saruman and Bill Fernie, you touch a single tulip in the Shire,
goodbye,
like you're gone. So that felt, it just felt devastating, but I also love that it's very obviously real and reflective of real life. And a lot of people were like, Emma, you know, it's about like Tolkien's experience of coming back to smaller towns after the war, and like things are changed and there's all this crap bureaucracy set up or whatever. And I'm like, I know, I just hate
I don't
it.
have to like it.
I just hate it. Like, I understand, but it is devastating to read.
Yeah.
It hurts so bad. And it was also kind of a weird point in the, I didn't like it in terms of narrative cycles, because like you have all of this climax and action, and then you get back to the Shire and you're like, oh wait, one last rodeo, like we gotta go, we gotta get rid of Saruman. I love that Wormtongue was there. I love Wormtongue as a character. I think he's very interesting. I wasn't like the biggest fan that like Saruman is just worming around. I'm like,
yeah,
like, I get it, you're pathetic, you have nothing else to do, you're causing mischief, but like you are, I don't know, I just don't think I understood like the power that like he really wielded, because I'm like, it feels like you should be doing something about this pay grade right now. Right. Anyway, just pain. Purely pain is all I'm saying, because I just wanted the Shire. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Should we hit the actual ending?
Yes. I thought that it was a beautiful, perfect ending. Like, now that the Shire, they have restored it, I can't blame Frodo. I feel like I would want the same thing if I was him. I mean, technically, like, we know what it symbolizes, but we don't really know, you know? So, like, he could be just going to a different place that actually exists. So, we don't know. And I think that that's kind of, like, the perfect symbol for heaven, or like going somewhere like that, like you're taking the beautiful boat that's shaped like a swan. Like, I just think it's such beautiful imagery. And I forgot the quote. I think I might have taken a picture. It's between Pippin and Gandalf, and honestly I don't remember when this takes place, but Pippin says, "I didn't think it would end this way." Gandalf says, "End? No, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one that we all must take. The gray curtain of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass, and then you see it." And Pippin says, "What, Gandalf? See what?" And Gandalf says, "White shores, and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise." Pippin says, "Well, that isn't so bad." And Gandalf says, No, it isn't." And like, it's so beautiful. I know, it's so beautiful. It's so true. And it's like, just because that is the ending and we could assume that it is certain things, like, we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a spiritual moving on, and like a mental, physical. I just think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, perfect ending.
Yeah.
It's just the execution, the like spending, what is it, like a couple years in the Shire before Frodo's like, I can't do it. I'm not well. You
can't blame him too. Like, it was so realistic and true, and I think that that's why it's effective, because it's not the ending you want. It's like the same thing with the Shire. It's like, it's not the ending you want, but it's the necessary one, because it makes it more real.
Yeah. But just the Sam and him talking, and I actually can't. And like Frodo telling Sam that he is the one who's meant to be whole and happy, and he's going to be. It's just, man, like, just devastating.
Truly.
It landed. It hit. It hit the landing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and like how we end with Sam too. Like, it's just beautiful.
Oh, the last sentence.
I know. Oh. I know.
Remind me of like a farewell to arms or something.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Truly unforgettable.
Well, I'm home. Oh, I'm not okay. I'm actually not good. Oh, that hurts so bad.
Yep. I know.
Yeah. That's Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
I'm so glad we read this.
Me too. Probably one of my favorite reading experiences. Also, like, the fact that we read this around the time that, like, I was getting married too, and then, like, we end with, like, Sam getting married.
Yeah,
it was just, like, it was just such a special experience that, like, this was the book that I read when I got married. Like, I will never not, like, feel so special about this series for that reason as well. And it's just like, it's like when we read War and Peace. It felt like it was life-changing. Like, this, in so many ways, feels, like, emotionally life-changing.
It is. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, when things are going bad, you just think about Lord of the Rings, you know?
Yeah. And when things are going good as well.
And when exactly.
Yeah.
A book for all
the
seasons.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Anyway, this was so fun. I have been so looking forward to talking about Lord of the Rings with you, and I'm so glad that we finally made time. Emma and I have been so busy recently, so I'm so glad that we have made time. I just want to quickly mention that we are not going to be discussing we are not going to be discussing Middlemarch because at the time that we were reading it, we were both extremely busy, both traveling, and we both didn't love the book, didn't feel like we had much to say about it. A lot of you guys DNF'd it, so we felt like it was the best thing to do is to just not do a discussion on it because it wouldn't be like a full discussion. Obviously, we did have the book club on Fable, so we did have discussions actually on Fable, even though we didn't have a discussion actually in video form. But we are going to now start reading, well, we have to finish 1Q84, which, holy hell. Yeah. I know. And then we are going to be reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which is very exciting. So we still have so many books ahead of us. And if you haven't joined us on Fable, then please do so, because I have been loving every time I read a crazy ass chapter of 1Q84.
I can't be alone right now.
I always go on Fable and everyone's like, what the fuck? Oh my god, what the hell? Like, what did I just read? And I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. I'm not alone.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I've just been wanting to read this for so long. Thank you for suggesting it for the book club. Thank you for reading it with me. I had the time of my life.
Me too.
Fellowship of the Ring, you are my heart and soul.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
Indeed. Could not agree more.